And good morning and welcome to Touch Base Daily. My name is Ron Foster and I'm touching base with you as I do every day during the week. Ah, this weather in New York City is making me so happy. Another cool day in New York. Another cool day. No air conditioning. Slept well. I even said, you know what? I'm going to oversleep today. And I did, and I felt good. It was so good. So today is our let me take this off I got this little banner there. Let me pop this in. Hold on a second. I got my little banner up showing there, but today is Wisdom Wednesday. And we have a special guest today. And I am so excited. It is the wonderful Cheryl Miller, and she has an amazing career. I'll talk about that in a moment, but I just wanted to make sure I send some greetings. The greetings are in the room. Let's see some greetings. Who is the first person in the building today? It looks like Grand Rising Ron, everyone, RLP, boom, 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 with all the with all the lights and everything. The next person, number 2 in the building, is Chris R. She says good morning. And the next person, number 3, Rashawn Vincent. Good morning, Ron and RLP family. And there we have Omar's in the building as well. What up, everyone, he says. And Paro is in the building. Good grand rising front and center for Cheryl Miller. She said in front and center for Cheryl Miller. There we go. And also I have here, who else is in the building? Hannah. Hannah's in the building. Good morning, Ron and RLP family. Hannah, you're not doing the gardening today? No gardening today? Okay. And we have here, who else is in here building? Says Rashawn says good morning to everyone. Everybody saying good morning to each other. Adrian is in the building. Adrian, New York City is in the building. She says, good morning, everyone. Happy Wednesday. It is Wisdom Wednesday. And David Mascaro is in the building. Good morning, David. Good morning. Jamel Shabazz is in the building. Grand Rising family. He says Grand Rising. Yes, he knows. He knows the great Cheryl Miller. Okay, Brian is in the building. Brian is in the building. Mr. Brian, young, creative. And so we're all here. I am not going to go into politics today. I am going to go right in to spending time with this amazing photographer. And I stumbled upon her at the Photoville that was here in New York City under the Brooklyn Bridge this summer. And for those that know, I was working Photoville this year. And I think Jamel did say, "Hey, do you know Cheryl? Make sure you see Cheryl." And I say, "I did. I saw her." And she had the most amazing exhibition. Her exhibition, I'm drawn into old photos about communities, photos about family, photos about Black culture, photos of history. That's what draws me in. And hey, Kimmy, I see you in the building. And I am drawn into to photographers that pull me into the past and make me smile. Because there's something about watching the African American experience. And I'm this way also with all old photo pictures. I mean, whether it's Italian, whether it's Irish, but it's really dear to my heart when I see other Black families. Because to be quite honest, I used to have a bunch of family pictures, and my father unfortunately lost them all. When he was in a moving situation, my parents separated, and we lost all of my childhood photos. We had no photos of our childhood. They were all gone. To this day, once in a while, my aunt will send me a photo of my great grandfather or my grandfather or my family members. And I'm like, I get so excited because there's nothing like a photo to pull you in to your culture and also to anchor you. Old photos, photos that were captured over time, anchor you because it's your life. It's your family's life, your mom, your dad, your aunties, your uncles, the greats and the grands. Anyway, I love Cheryl's work. So let me just I'm going to give you just a little snippet. I'm going to read this to you. I'm going to brighten up my phone here so I can bring this up so you can see this. I can see this with you. Okay, here we go. There we go. Let's get that in there. Okay, here we go. Cheryl Miller is a self-taught photographer and a former city and regional planner. Her practice exists to create images of African Americans viewed through a kaleidoscope of everyday experiences. Her focus is on the rich visual development of communities, neighborhoods, and people that make them thrive. Her 40-year film archive explores resistance and resilience as survivors of the Middle Passage, honoring our ancestors as recipients of the gifts of strength, resilience, promise, and hope. Ancestor reverence helps to maintain our joy and channels these gifts. The images are of rites, rituals, and social norms, resistance to enslavement, institutional racism, and white supremacy. Miller's work has been existed on local, national, and international art institutions and is in the permanent collection of the Brooklyn Museum, Schomburg Center for Black Culture and Research, and the Museum of the City of New York. In addition, she was a former adjunct lecturer at the Tisch Department of Photography and Imaging at NYU. She also taught photography in the NYC Department of Education as an active member of the local art community. Okay, and we'll talk about more, but with no further ado, I'm going to give to you the great and wonderful Cheryl Miller. Cheryl.
Ron, thank you so much for that incredible introduction, and thank you for having me as a guest today. I don't know
I
anyone else.
I am so excited to have you here and for this community to meet you. Your photography arrested me when I went into that we call these the containers at the Photoville. I walked in and I was like, holy moly. And the way you had everything laid out and from the ceiling, from the walls, and it was truly an experience. So as we talk about that, I would love for you to tell me, how did you, first of all, let's go into where should we start? Because I have 1,000 questions, but how did you, when we talk about Photoville, and I'm going to bring some photos as you share, how did you come up with your concept to put something so amazing together for people to view in Photoville? What led you?
Well, Ron, I can't take credit for that. Delphine and Layla curated the show,
Mm-hmm.
and I gave them free reign. I really wanted to see what they could do with their vision and my images, and that's really what happened. I just provided the work, and they were just
Mm.
so imaginative, and they went to work, and that's what happened. And I truly was pleased as well. I had no idea. You know, we talked about it. Obviously, we met about it, but their vision, and along with the Photoville staff, they were very accommodating. I had an altar as well, Ancestral Altar, that was really the only thing that I really wanted to incorporate, and they were very accommodating, and I'm pleased. I'm very pleased with the outcome as well.
And there's the altar you were talking about for the
Absolutely. Honoring
ancestors.
my
I
ancestors.
was I was just like I said, I made it my business to stop by your container almost every other day. I was there for 2 weeks working. And this is a film of the inside of the container, guys, so you can see how it's laid out. Folks were just hanging out with Cheryl. They were just like making themselves at home. But the whole experience was it arrested me because it really, from like I said, I mentioned not having old family pictures of my own.
Mm.
When I see others with their family pictures, it makes me so happy. And especially when it comes to Black culture and the African American experience. So, how did you get into photography?
Wow, that's a good question, and I am asked that often. And in retrospect, I've always been into photography. I grew up around cameras. I inherited cameras. We were always taking pictures of my family, my parents. And I am the keeper of I ended up being the keeper of all of those photographs. That's why they were readily available for the Photoville exhibition. But I remember taking images of my friends as young as probably 8 years old. And I have one or two of those images. I don't know if you know which ones they are, but nonetheless, I always had a camera. I remember having a folding camera that probably
Mm,
took 120 film that time. I don't know if that was 120 or not, but it was kind of like that size film.
mm-hmm.
My father, he had Polaroid land cameras. I inherited his SX70, which I still have. Um, and I remember getting a swinger. It was like this little Polaroid camera with very small, maybe 2x2 Polaroid
Mm-hmm.
images. So I've always been into photography, but I did not become intentional about being a photographer until well into grad school. Um, when I was studying to be a planner at Pratt Institute, I had
Wow.
they assigned us a trip to take. I think the class was transportation planning, so they had us go to Baltimore to visit the then underdeveloped Baltimore Harbor, which is now,
Mm,
an incredible place. So I went and I took a bunch of slides, chromes. I had purchased a camera on my own. The Canon AE1 at that particular time, and I still have it. I still use it. But once I got those images back, I felt like now is the time for me to like really be intentional about this. But I was just about finished my degree
mm-hmm.
in planning at Pratt on the graduate level, and I'm like, well, I'm certainly not going back to school. I can't afford it. I'm still paying for this degree. So at that
Yes.
point, I established a 5-year plan where I would study as much as I can, and I wrote it down, everything. I have it like on a piece of cardboard, front and back, and I save it to remind myself of the kind of laser focus that one has to have. And I was really, really into getting this done because I knew that was going to be the only way that I would learn. I literally went to the library because at that point there was no online courses or internet to study from. So I went to the library every week, took out a bunch of books,
Mm-hmm.
studied them, bought them back, got more books. I immersed myself in the photo community and art community, period, and that's really, how it happened. I got a business
Wow.
card. It says Cheryl Miller photographer, and I was like, okay, I guess I have to live up to this.
Once you get the business card, it's like you gotta.
Right. I willed myself into it. I actually got, and you know how things happen when you put your mind to things. Unfortunately, there was a gentleman in the neighborhood who was losing his sight, losing his vision. He was a photographer.
Mm,
And he sold me all of his darkroom equipment, including the
wow.
Elijah and uh, twin lens reflex, and I still have it. Mamiya C, I think it's a C3,
Yes.
and chemicals, everything,
Wow.
trays, tongs for like $200,
Wow.
and that allowed me to begin to build my dark room. So I have a dark room in my home.
Wow. So you went to school, you were in college, you were in your graduate degree phase, you were studying, and then you pick up the camera and you take pictures, you go on a trip, and you fall in love with the whole practice of it. And then you'd say, okay, I'm going on the road to make sure I do this and do it well and do your research and all that stuff. So now that you've been, I mean, this how long would you say is this trajectory? I mean, you s- did you have a desire to pick up a camera even way before school or any of these projects? Did you have like a, you know, I remember when
Well,
I was a kid.
I always
Yeah,
had a camera,
you
and
always
I
had a
didn't even
camera.
realize that somebody pointed it out to me. Said, "Well, Cheryl, you always had a camera."
Always had a camera.
But it wasn't an intentional, like when I decided in grad school, okay, I have this career that I love, urban planning, community development, neighborhood revitalization, organizing with community, and engaging with people. I love that.
Mm-hmm.
But I also love photography. So because I didn't go to school and I didn't take an advertising photography course or
Mm-hmm.
architectural or fashion, I kind of had to like go through those elements of photography as a process of elimination to determine what I was going to focus on.
Wow.
So I did some grip and grin, you know, uh, assignment photography. I literally walked in a local photo studio, Mr. Wilson's photography on Jamaica Avenue. He was like at everything. He did school portraits, he did
Mm-hmm.
weddings, and I said, well, I'd like to work here. I'd like to help. I'd like to apprentice. And he said, well, you could work here, but all I need for you to do right now is put some negatives in these envelopes. And I'm like, I'll take it. And he said he was specific. He said, and I do not have time to teach you anything about photography. And I was
Wow.
like, okay, no problem. But he had an assistant, a darkroom assistant and assistant photographer. His name is Larry Brown.
Wow.
I credit him with teaching me everything that I know about the darkroom. And from that point on, Larry Brown took me under his wing and taught
Wow.
me everything that I needed to know about film development, printing, chemicals, and that really like upped my learning curve tremendously.
Wow.
I also apprenticed for a fashion photographer in Manhattan at one point, but again, fashion photography, that all of these things that I was doing was kind of to explore what my interest was because I was
Yes.
kind of like all over the place and learning.
Mm-hmm.
And so because I had a job and a career, I did not have to and didn't want to focus on being a starving artist or photographer. I'm like, well, let me continue working.
I
So
need a real
that I can
job, as
pay
they
my
say.
mortgage, raise my child, pay the car notes and all that stuff.
Yes.
And one day, my good friend, who is a painter, Danny Simmons, dropped by, and he was on his way somewhere to, I think it might have been the Jamaica Center for Arts and Learning, to maybe exhibit his work. And I had my work laid out, and prior to that, I really wasn't showing my work or anything. And he saw it. He said, "Listen," he said, "my brother Russell is still forming his offices. He had raw space in Manhattan, Def Jam, and he said, I'm going to ask him to allow me to do a show. I want you to show your work."
Mm.
And I'm like, "No, I don't think so. I don't show my work. What do you mean?" I had no idea. And so he said, "Yeah, yeah, I like your work. Come on and show with me." And I did that. And once the exhibition was successful, I sold some work. I saw how people responded to it. And I was like, this is it. This is the kind of photography that I want to be involved in.
Wow. Man,
Yes.
so we're going through some of this photo. This is from your website, and this is on the section called "If We Stand Tall: Recollections of Spirits Past." And you have this collection is so
This
beautiful.
this is my book project. That's the title of my book project. So that these
Ah,
images are of community that I grew up in, South Jamaica, Queens. That community is very near and dear to me. My parents are both from New York, and my grandparents came to Jamaica in the 30s. This is the image that I told you I took as a child. These are my friends, my partners in crime, Barbara and Gregory.
wow.
We used to rip and run and give our babysitter a really hard time.
Oh my
But
goodness.
those are my buddies, and I remember taking that picture. I remember the camera. I wish that I could still have that camera. It's a really cute little folding camera,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm not sure how I got it, but obviously my parents gave it to me. And so I have some other
Wow.
photos that I took with that camera as well. That I don't have these negatives. I just have the prints for these. So
I l-
they're priceless to me.
I mean look, you got your leading lines in there. You got all the theoreticals. You're a kid, but you are doing your thing.
That's a street that I grew up on, 108th Avenue, and behind them on the right, you see a roof, like a angled roof. That's my house. Yeah, right there.
Wow.
That's the house I
Okay.
grew up in, and we have deep roots in Jamaica. My father grew up there. His father bought it. So when you think about Jamaica, Queens,
Mm-hmm.
you have to know historically that Jamaica, Queens had the largest concentration of black homeownership in United States at one time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it's very significant. A lot of black. All the homes were owned by black families. We grew up in a neighborhood that was
Wow.
very close knit, with families that we all knew, and we all knew the children, and
Here we
we
go.
had
We got
we had something called the block.
it was called the what? The
The
block?
block. Yeah, you came from the block. It's just like a very sentimental kind of. We're all adults now, and
Uh-huh.
we knew the families. We have stories. I mean, a film could probably be made
Hmm.
from the
Maybe when the book is done, you'll go make a movie as well.
maybe
This would be a good documentary. I see a good documentary forming
sounds
here.
good. Sounds like a great idea.
I mean, you're taking these photos at different stages of your life. You seem to be, the documentarian of Jamaica, and you're, in your world. You are documenting your world. What are
Well, it
some of the
stems.
favorite places? Oh, no, go ahead.
No, I was going to say it stems from. For me, I think my initial objective was just to show us in a very positive light. All you ever see, and even still, even then, were negative images or the
Yes.
pathology or
Yes.
all the horrors of being black, living in a black community, and the fatherless homes and the drugs and the unwed mothers and the crime and all of these things that are a very small percentage
Hmm.
of who we are and of any community. It's a very
Yes.
And so what I kind of wanted to show was how we live, when we're not under the gaze, when nobody's looking, when we're very comfortable, when we're experiencing joy, when we are um, building, we're educating, we're we're worshiping, we're inventing, we're doing all of these things in spite of the,
Mm.
the stereotypes and the oppression and all of the things that are so negative, and I think the resilience, the strength, I often say, and sometimes I think people take this a little lightly, is that we are the survivors
Yes.
of the Middle Passage
Yeah.
of our ancestors. A lot of
Yes.
them did not. A lot of them are at the bottom of the ocean,
Yes.
Atlantic Ocean. A lot of them didn't make it, and then the ones that made it through 400 decades of and hundreds of years of impossible conditions and unlikely to survive. And here we are.
Mm.
We've made it to that point. So we are the strongest. We are the gifts. And as I believe it was Maya Angelou who said, we're our ancestors' wildest dream.
Yes. Cheryl, I just had this conversation 2 days ago, and we were talking about my time in Ghana and how this. Oh, I was being interviewed for an photography day coming up. I was interviewed this week on Monday, and they asked me some questions. I was talking about the ancestry and how when I was in Ghana, what blew me away, my curator of the slave castle gave me a tour, and she was saying, she looked over to me and she says, "You are the strongest." She says, "You are the strongest, and we welcome you back home." And I didn't know what to do with that response. I was like, I'll get that question, but I was like, wow. And she says, "See, your ancestors came from the center probably of Africa. They had to walk a continent. They had to walk half the continent to get to the West Coast. And then a percentage, 50 up almost 50% of them died along that continental walk. Then they put us in our ancestors in a slave castle where they lived in a dungeon. And then some of them died. Then they put them on a boat and brought them across the sea. And half of those died. And some were tossed into the ocean, some died along the way. And then your ancestors, our ancestors, came to this country or this land, because it wasn't even a country yet in some cases. And our ancestors were enslaved. And then our ancestors endured the years of slavery because so many people died in slavery. And then we are the strongest to emerge from our ancestry.
And that's why I feel it's important for me to always have an altar,
Mm,
because to give, I mean, you and I are sitting here, and
yes.
all of the folks who are on, on the program and online, we have every right to give them their just due as every time that we can. Because
Yes.
if not for them, we would not be here. And that is of such a, to me, I think it's taken a little too lightly. Of course, we do honor and revere our ancestors, but I think that us as a people have to bring that more to the forefront, because what we
Yes.
don't understand is everybody else honors their ancestors. There are
Yes.
holidays with sales honoring
Yes.
their ancestors. There are statues. There are all kinds of symbolisms. I live right now, I'm not in New York, I'm in Massachusetts. I have never been a place where I've seen so many cemeteries.
Mm,
And that's honoring your ancestor, that headstone. So it's big, it's prevalent, it's out front in other cultures. We need to bring that, I feel, uh, a lot more into our everyday lives, our everyday existence, our communities, to let everyone know that we are as proud and we honor and revere our ancestors as well.
I
And
agree.
it's
Oh,
magic. Just honor your ancestors and see. if there's still their spirits aren't hovering over you in your everyday endeavors.
Mm.
I bring mine with me everywhere I go.
Everywhere you go, everywhere you go. But it's interesting. You say that, and I was in New England this year. I mean, I was in Mass at Martha's Vineyards this past week, photographing the film festival. And you're right. Even on Martha's Vineyard, there's cemeteries in certain areas, and there's these connections. And being in Inkwell, which is where the Black community lives in Martha's Vineyard, all of these connections to these. There's every morning. There's hundreds of people that gather in the water, and they give reference to the ancestors. I lost my mind when I saw it. I was photographing for Martha's Vineyard for the film festival because they had a morning event, and then I said, "What's going on over there? What's going on over there?" And they were like, "Oh, they have this every morning. They have a swim and they sing songs and they were worshiping and they were praising and they were giving reverence to the ancestors." And it was one huge circle of maybe, I think that morning it was probably about 80 people in the water. And it was so profound to me. So you bring that back to my memory of the importance of the ancestors and the importance of acknowledging the people that came before us to put us where we are today. And
give
anyway,
us that strength and resilience that we have as a people, even just on an everyday individual level, what we deal with in terms of racism and white supremacy and all of these things that are happening and have been happening, that we still are able to survive.
And you have a section on your page called "In the Spirit."
Mm-hmm.
And so here's some amazing, interesting photos as well.
Yeah,
And
that one that the first one. Every year in Cunningham Park in Queens, we sometimes go, and it's called Feeding the Ground.
yes.
And so you literally are feeding the earth, giving back to the earth because it gives to us.
Yes.
And in this particular case, I believe that's a chicken.
Wow.
Along with a lot of other things, uh, um, beans and corn and tobacco and a bunch of other things ritualistically. And so I had an opportunity to be able to shoot that.
Wow. Do you shoot in digital or do you only shoot in film?
Only film. I don't
Wow.
own a digital camera yet.
Wow.
Just say yet, because I use my phone, and I've I've never had a digital camera.
This is an incredible. This is interesting
This is
photo.
at Coney Island.
I
This is
see.
honoring the ancestors. You see the steeplechase.
Yes.
This is honoring the ancestors of the Middle Passage. This is one Juneteenth years ago. That was able to capture this as they were beginning to go into the ocean to make the offerings to our ancestors.
I'm looking at the woman with the powder on her face.
Yeah, that's
I've
probably
only seen that when I was living in South Africa for a moment, and the women used to be at the market, and they would have this, it's like a powder that they put on their face, just like this woman has it here.
It's probably a fun, EFUN.
Uh-huh.
It's like a chalky powder that is
Wow.
used in those ceremonies.
Look at that, the drums.
That's at the East.
Mm.
It used to be a 10 claver place years ago. This is probably a precursor to the African Street Festival.
Wow.
Yeah, and these are some of my brothers and sisters, my god brothers and sisters from Ile, from my Ile and my godfather in the middle there years ago. These are the
Wow.
elders: Olatunji, Ishenge, and oh goodness, Denizulu.
Mm-hmm.
It's at
This
in
is
the ground. That's a cleaning,
wow. Wow.
and this is trying to capture visually things that aren't seen. It's very challenging, and for me, this is Oshun, right at
Mm-hmm.
the Orisha Oshun, right at the water front,
The water
just
right at the
before,
water's edge.
right at the water's edge, where you see footprints, and then you see
Yes.
an offering of some coins.
Wow.
And I was just trying to capture that.
Wow. Ugh, this shot is beautiful.
Thank you. This is a pretty well known and published image
Ugh.
at the water of that same period of time, um, Juneteenth.
And we have a couple of questions. Let me look at my time here so I can get some of the questions that have come up. One is Omar says, "Do you still shoot film, or have you transitioned to digital camera?" We already answered that one.
Yeah,
You still shoot
Omar,
film?
I got
Oh.
film that I got to put in right now. I still shoot film.
And AS says, Cheryl Miller, are you planning to submit these beautiful images to the Martha's Vineyard African American Film Festival 2025 for a documentary or film?
Well, let's talk about it. I had no idea. Let's talk about it. I'm open.
Yeah,
Let's see what we can come up with.
your work should be on. You should have a film. You really, you they should. We gotta figure this one out. Okay. And next question is, I see folks are saying your work is amazing. They see the strength in your work. Amazing again. Um, film was just has so film just has soul,
I
says
agree,
David.
David.
Trish says, do you develop your own photos?
Not anymore. I developed all of those that you see, though.
Okay.
Um, my archive is all my own development in my dark room. I sold my dark room. I upgraded it from the purchase initially in my initial career, but I kept my Patterson development tanks and the reels. And my goal is to get back to developing my film. I just want to say that one of the things that came out of me really trying to master developing film and printing film was the level of control that I had over
Mm,
my images. So my work became predictable because I knew I didn't have anybody else touching that process. So I was able
yes.
to predict the outcome of my images, the film. And so that helped me develop a style because the consistency using the same camera, the same film, the same chemicals, the same paper, in the same enlarger, in the same darkroom over and over and over again
Yes.
gave me a level of consistency.
Here's another question. Omar has another question. He says, "What is your current film camera setup?"
My current film camera setup is the same camera I had that I shot these on. Believe it or not, I have had them overhauled and preserved. I use the same lenses. I use a wide angle lens all the time. That's my favorite setup. But I have a Canon. I have Canon. I use Canon equipment. I have an AE1. I have an A1. I have an AE1 program with the lenses. The
Wow.
AE1, the A1 is failing. It's had some technical issue, so I'm not really able to use that. So I'm looking for an A1 body or F1 body. And so let me know if anybody knows. And you know, I've looked at a couple of KEH and B, you know, some of the others. So very, very simple. I have an available light. I do not use any type of strobe or flash with my images. That's another thing that I did purposely to affect a certain style, a certain predictability.
Here's Omar says also, just going to bring that to you. He says, wow, this is a college filmmaking course all on her website. Yeah, I mean, you laid out so beautiful. And also,
Thank
our
you.
bro our brother, Jamel Shabazz, asked
My
the
brother.
question. He says, what projects are you currently working on?
Well, I want to say before I answer that question that full disclosure, I was in kind of a limbo for almost 17 years
Mm,
and up until um, COVID. And I reached out to Jamel because my intention after that hiatus, in a sense, was to just organize and digitize my film. And of course, I
yes.
procrastinated for a couple of years before I even started. Anyway, I got to the point where I was starting out and I reached out to Jamel. And
Mm-hmm.
I got to say, he and my other photographer friend, Marilyn Nance, were both like this in my ears, talking to me about some of the things, some great suggestions, and some things that I could do and undertaking. I was taking notes, and Jamel will tell you, I follow instructions, right?
Mm,
So, um, I just want to thank him publicly, thank Marilyn publicly. I don't know if she's on here, but they probably don't know how instrumental they are in keeping my head right in terms of getting things done. So thank
wow.
you, Jamel. Answer to your question is my book project, If We Stand Tall, Recollections of Spirits Past. I've been working on that. I've gotten a nomination, my book dummy. I was blessed to have an artist in residence program at Lightwork earlier this year,
Yes.
and they helped me um, uh, produce my book dummy, which is just a sample of what I want to, have in the hard copy form. And so it was nominated actually during Photoville uh,
Yes.
for a book dummy award, and uh, looking for a publisher, working with Monolith right now, Keith
Mm-hmm.
David. So I got a scholarship actually, and all these things happened like in the last 2 years
Wow.
after being on hiatus for, and I don't even want to say hiatus because I didn't consciously say, oh, I'm not going to do anything. It's just,
Yes.
I was very daunted by the digital age. Now, just to go back a little further,
Yes.
I did a jazz show. I have jazz as part of my repertoire, and I was blessed to be able to speak to Roy De Carava about my work. He was at Hunter at the time, and I wanted to audit his class. And what he said was, after I found out how expensive it was going to be, he's like, you can't audit. He said, just come by my office. He's such a sweet guy. He said, just come by my office and I'll look at your work. So I went by his office and he looked at these images here and he's like, these are great. I was having a show at Alex Harsley's 4th Street Photo at that particular time. So I was just trying to get ready. And I said, Roy, well, what do you think about the digital age that's coming? Photography is now digitized. He said, just keep doing what you're doing. He
Yes.
said, that's a fad. Now, it was a long fad, but fast forward 20 years, film is back.
Film is back, and people
So,
love film.
what he said was hard to hear, for so long, but he was right ultimately.
Look at this
So,
shot. Look at this shot.
That's Charles McPherson at the 79th Street Boat Basin,
Mm.
right off the water. So I had a lot of them was what you saw was shot at Grant's Tomb. Uh, Betty Carter at Grant's Tomb. A lot of greats there at that time in the 90s. Mongo Santa Maria. I don't know who this is. Nobody can tell me who he was. Frank. I believe that's Frank Forster. This was at the Blue Note. Diana
Ah,
Reeves
look
and
at that.
a lot of legends performing.
Yes. A lot of
They
legends in front of your lens.
and it was again very intentional. Um, my friend Verna Hart, she passed away. She's a painter, great painter.
Hmm.
She would sketch and I would shoot. And we would sit there just before dark because, it was usually a night concert, but we would get there just before dark. This is Art Blakey. And this is an interesting image of him. He passed away, I think, like a month later. That was in the 1990. I think he passed away in August, September, or October. And they literally had to help him up onto the bandstand
Wow.
to sit him down in the seat to drum. And once he picked up those sticks and started drumming, it was like he came to life and nothing I've ever seen. And then when he was done, they had to take him off.
Wow.
And so the name of this show was Past Prime and Jazz because all of these artists were older and they had really seen their prime as musicians. They were
Yes.
famous, recorded, and so I wanted to catch them not as they had been before, but now near the end of their careers and in some cases their lives. And that
Mm.
music, that jazz is what really brought them up.
Eh, Omar says again, wow, Canon should give you a sponsorship.
And a new camera.
And a new camera. And then Adrian says, my dad went to St. Peter on Claver, and we went to the African American Festival on Claver Place.
Okay, okay.
And I see here, LinkedIn user, congratulations, Cheryl. She says
Thank you.
Bennett.
Yeah,
And
I'm a alum, Bennett College alum, Greensboro, North Carolina, historically black
wow.
college.
And then we have Jamel says, wow, I just found photos from those Claver Place days.
That was a time. It was always something cultural. People used to think I was from Brooklyn because I was in Brooklyn so much, you know.
Wow. Wow. Elmar again says, I can't wait to meet Master Jamel Shabazz when I get to New York City in September. I'm going to have to put together something really special when Omar gets here with all my, I mean, you guys, there's some people that really do inspire me every day that I come on this platform, and they inspire me in so many ways. And I got to figure out a way to celebrate everybody together in one room. I got to figure it out.
Yes, let's do that because there's a lot of
Yeah,
people I need to. There's so many young and up and coming talent photographic
yes.
artists. Uh, I want to meet them as well.
Jamel says, great photos,
Thank
Cheryl.
you,
Great
Jamel.
photos, Cheryl. He says, I look forward to meeting you, Omar. So we're going to have to do something. We got to do lunch or something when Omar gets to
Yeah,
town.
just gather somewhere. Gather
Yes.
somewhere. That'd be nice.
I see Elise says, love these photos, Cheryl.
Thank
Love
you.
these photos.
Thank you.
Rashawn says, your photos have really inspired me. Thank you, Cheryl.
Thank you.
Elise says, the next time that I come to New York City, I want to meet all of these amazing photographers in here. And Omar says, I'm bringing my film camera to New York City. And
Mm.
so this is, well, first of all, where can people find you?
Um, at Cheryl Miller Photo Archive on IG. And I also just made an IG page for my book project. My website, Cheryl Miller at photoshelter.com. But the IG for my book is If We Stand Tall, at If We Stand Tall.
Mm,
So I'm still building that, working that.
okay.
Or you can email me at CherylMiller1352 at Gmail.
Ooh, let me put that there. Hold on. Say Cheryl. Say what? Say it
Cheryl
again.
Miller 1352 at Gmail. Got it?
I'll make sure Cheryl Miller. 1, 2, 3.
Nope,
Oh,
1352. 1352.
oh, 1352. 1352.
Mhm.
And
At
it's at
Gmail.
Gmail, right? Okay, put that
Yeah.
up there as well. .com. There we go. And put that up there. Okay. So this is where you can find her, these wonderful areas. Chat with her and encourage her. We're getting close to our time out, but Cheryl, any last words you want to share with anyone that's inspiring to be to do what you're doing, to share their work or to go into photography? And what would you say to a photographer that's, someone that's interested in photography and that wants to just, have a career in photography as well?
Well, I would say what was said to me early on, and that is to shoot what you love or
Mm.
shoot what you hate. But have
Ooh,
that,
I
have,
never heard that one. I heard the
have
one
the,
shoot what you love, but not the
well,
one you hate. I
I,
love that.
I interpreted it to mean, laser focus on
Yes.
something and
Yes.
pull together a body of work, a series of work, a theme. I have early on I established, the if we stand tall, I established the spiritual, I established jazz as the things that I was going to focus on,
Mm.
and I use them. Um, they are separate; they're not all mixed up together. So I focused on music when I was shooting the Grant's Tomb series. I focused on jazz, and as far as If We Stand Tall, I focused on those situations, those community inspirations, those engaging in the people and my subjects. So I would say just focus and be consistent, you
Mm.
know, um, and think about, and this is something that was very new to me in terms of what your practice is. When I started out, nobody was asking you, well, what's your practice? And how, what's the thought process? People are like, let me see your work. I taught at NYU based on my portfolio. I never
Yes.
went to school for photography. I have no courses. I have no workshop, nothing. They said,
Oh
let me
my
see your
gosh.
work.
I could dive right into, just, you're self-taught. You created this incredible journey of work, body of work. And here you are, and then you end up teaching at NYU, one of the best universities in
That let
America.
me know that I was a
Ah,
real photographer once I got that job. I mean, it was like, wow, look at me now.
ah,
However, fast forward to now, as an up and coming photographer, you need to be able to write. You need to be able to explain your practice, explain your story, because
yes,
now folks want to see more than just your work. Now, I'm
yes,
talking about grant because I write grants. I'm talking about applying for grants and those kinds of things, applying for opportunities. You have to have a story. You have to have why your practice, why you do what you do. You have to be able to explain it. We all know why we do what we do, but you have to
yes,
explain it. And so, that would be something that I would add. You can no longer just have your images. And also, I had gotten a scholarship called Publish Your Photography Book. And one of the things they said in learning and teaching us was that have your IG tight, have your social media tight, you
Wow.
know, so that the first thing people go to, or clients, or prospects, grantors, is your IG.
Interesting. Interesting. Wow.
So those are
You
the things.
know, we're gonna have to have you on here many times.
Woo!
One, because you have so much wisdom. I mean, the wisdom of I mean, I'm sure people would want to know in this community, and people that view this on YouTube and it will come and land on this page. They would want to know how to create grants and how to write for grants and what they need to have. And um,
Well, one of the
your
things,
story is amazing.
you have to be ready.
Be ready.
Be ready for that grant. I personally kept all my rejection letters
Wow.
from the ones that I didn't get, and I
Yes.
understand why I didn't get them. But I
Yes.
don't apply for grants that I don't think I can get.
Yes.
You have to be ready for whatever it is that you're. And the LinkedIn person, I'd love to know who they are.
LinkedIn person, make yourself known. We want to know who you are.
DM
David,
me, email me, or something, because
yes.
obviously they know who I am, and they went to Bennett, or they know about Bennett.
They know who you are.
One of
David
my Bennett
Mascaro.
Bell sisters.
David Mascaro says, "Love this show. Great images."
Thank you.
I see. Omar, a bunch of folks are now following you.
Please,
You got
I
a whole
will.
nother
Good.
flock
I'm
of
gonna follow
people.
you guys back. Thank you. Thank you.
And I see here, what else is being said here? The person's got to jump off. So they don't know who they are.
Oh, the LinkedIn
Got to
post. Oh,
jump
gotta
off, but
jump
I'm
off.
very
I'm
proud
proud
of
of
my
my Bennett
Bennett
sister.
sister.
Well, thank you very much. I wish I knew who you were. I
I'm
got an
sure they're gonna reach
idea.
out to you. They're
I
gonna reach
got an
out to you.
idea, but love to you too, sis.
Wow, this was wonderful.
It
Guys,
was.
if you enjoyed this conversation, you know how we roll. I want to see some thumbs up. I want to see some hearts. I want to see you. I need you to express to Cheryl how much this meant to you. So make sure you put in your hearts, your applause, whatever it is that you like to acknowledge people that you appreciate them taking the time out to give you information to share their journey, because I hope that someone was watching and is inspired by Cheryl's story,
I
because
hope
Lord
so too.
knows I thought I knew her just by reading about her, but now I'm like totally like, you have inspired me in this hour. You have encouraged me in this hour, and you have it was today was just like having a full delicious breakfast, and you really came through and shared your heart. Like Omar said, you gave us a lecture. You gave us wisdom, you gave us information, you gave us insight, you gave us history. I am thankful. I am so thankful for
I am
you,
thankful
Cheryl.
to you, Ron, for putting me on display. I really appreciate it. And I'm humbled and grateful by the accolades. And yeah, I'm just being who I am. And I'll be there. I'll be there on
I will be
Saturday.
there too. They
So
interviewed me
I'll see
for
you. Oh yeah, I'll be
they
there for the
I'll
book
be
of
there on the 17th. And for those, I mean, it's going to be a beautiful get together for World Photography Day at the Brooklyn Museum on Saturday. I will definitely be there. There was a team that came to the house to interview me this week for the
Where's
World
that
Photography
interview?
Day.
Where's it gonna be?
I don't know where it's going to be yet.
Well,
I'm
just
sure
post it. Post it.
I will post it. I will let people know where it is. And but I was so excited. I was humbled that someone would take the time out to interview me. I was
Hey,
like, oh,
why? You're the interviewer.
I
Now
know I'm used to
tables are
interviewing
turned.
others. And Jamel says, all are well. Oh, let me put that. Jamel says, wow, all are welcome. So, Brooklyn Museum,
We'll
I do
be
believe it's
there.
at 10 o'clock. 10 o'clock, we're
I think
supposed
it's
to be
11.
there. Yeah. So, is it 11 or 10 o'clock?
I thought it said 11, but I'll
Well,
be there.
I have a photo shoot in the morning, and then I'm dropping my equipment off at the house and zooming up the hill to definitely be a part of this and
That's
to
going to
meet.
be a great historical image. I wonder who's taking the image, who's
It's
making
probably
it.
Jamel. Jamel's probably
No,
gonna
he's
take the
got to
photo.
be in it. He's
He's
got to.
got to be in the photo, right?
Maybe it's a time lapse photo because whoever
Oh,
the photographer.
he says the shoot will be at 11 a.m. Okay, so we probably should be there at 10 to kind of
Yeah,
like socialize, and
yeah.
then the photo shoot of all of us together is going to be at 11 o'clock. Okay, got it. Thank you, Jamel. So we'll be there. We'll be there because we got the invitation. We got the invitation, and we know what we're supposed to be doing.
Be there with bells on.
So, guys, man, I don't even want to say goodbye. Until
Till
how about
next time.
until to
Till
next
Saturday.
time?
Yeah.
Yeah, Cheryl, I cannot wait to give you a big hug Saturday. I cannot wait.
Same here. Thank you so much. You've been very
Guys,
generous.
if you want, again, make sure you, this is Cheryl's website. And then also, here's her
Feel free to contact me,
Instagram.
please.
You can reach out to her, but either way. And if you want to direct by email, you can also Cheryl Miller 1352 at gmail.com. You can email her. Um, she is a breath of fresh air and so much and contains so much wisdom. Thank you, Cheryl, for joining us today. Guys, I'm going to have to get off this thing and let you guys get to work. But I think this was a beautiful, well spent Wisdom Wednesday. And
Same here. I loved it.
thank
Thank
you,
you.
guys. Have a wonderful day. Make it great. As we like to say, live life like you mean it and focus on what matters. See you tomorrow.
Thank
Okay,
you.
guys, we're
Bye
out of
bye.
here.
Thank you.
Bye
Thank you so
bye.
much. Bye bye.